Some psychopath decided to make a 7-round mock draft, so I'm going to be a psycho and review it. What's going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today I have decided to absolutely labor myself with a 7-round mock draft. I'm probably 200 players in, so we're going to see a lot of new names in this, so stay tuned. I am regretting this decision already, but it's going to be a good one. So let's have some fun here. I'm still developing my board right below my face because I have some new interior defensive line rankings that are going to be up very soon. It's already recorded, it's already scheduled, but I am currently out of town. So I want to make sure I got this for you guys because actually I'm delaying leaving for this. So let's get right into this. Let's have some fun. If you are new, feel free to like and comment and subscribe. Let's get right into this. This is psychotic. Of course, PFN has to do that because I block notifications because they can kiss my ass. But there's apparently a trade somehow, some way you can get from the number 8 pick to the number 1 pick for 2 firsts and 2 seconds and a 4th. I'm not even going to talk about that. For the sake of this, I think that a 1st, 2nd, and a 4th is absolutely ridiculous. It probably would be the entire draft to get up for Caleb Williams. But again, we're going to ignore it for the time being. Washington Commanders go Caleb Williams. I think that upgrading from Sam to Caleb, not a bad idea. I like Sam. He was my QB1 of that class. And, it sucks to say it, but if they are there at 8, probably going to be the route that they end up taking. Pick number 2, Buccaneers going Drake May. Here we go. The Arizona Cardinals traded out of, I think, both spots. So we're just going to be seeing a ton of Cardinals picks. So very excited for that. But Drake May is my number 4 quarterback at the moment, but that is not really saying that much because it's based on the fact that he only started for 1 year. Definitely, I'm projecting him to get higher in my rankings, but you got the Colts then going Marvin Harrison Jr. It would make sense if he is there. You might as well go with somebody who is a Hall of Fame receiver from your team, going after his son, who is just as good, if not better. Titans then going Olu Fashanu. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. Getting a true left tackle, never a bad idea. You don't want to be going after quarterback 3 at pick number 4. Well, I guess the Titans or the Colts did, speaking of. But don't get mad at me for the order. It is what it is. I'm not going to be the one complaining about it. We have like 256 picks to get through. So I think left tackle is definitely a position I would look at for the Titans. I know they have Andre Dillard, but Andre could end up being a guard, and then you could put Peter Skoronski at another guard position or at that right tackle spot. But Fashanu is somebody where if you want to at least take maybe a year to develop him, it would be a good idea. Bears, if you end up not re-signing Jalen Johnson, Kool-Aid McKinstry is one of the best players that you can grab. He's such a fun player overall. Really awesome. He, to me, is the head and shoulders DB1 of the class, and I think he'd fit the Bears system very, very well. So they even say it right there. There's no contest. I would say, well, you guys get to see on my board, Kalen King is competing for it, but I still think that with that size, with the height, weight combination, Kool-Aid is the one to take the cake. Then you got the Falcons going Jared Verse. I don't really think the Falcons will be this high, but again, they're doing this based off of Super Bowl odds at the time of this mock draft, which is recently. Jared Verse, obviously going after an edge rusher is the right move, but it looks like they're more so targeting the heavier edge rushers there with Bud Dupree, bringing in Calais Campbell for some help on the inside. So it looks like they're focusing on 270 plus, Zach Harrison in there as well. So I don't really know if Jared Verse is the right edge rusher for them, but I'm not going to complain if they end up going that way. Just might be more logical to go after a bigger edge rusher for them, maybe in the next round. Cardinals then going Emeka Egbuka. So they traded back, got a ton of picks, and then they ended up with Emeka. I don't really like the idea of getting multiple first-round picks to go from Marvin to Emeka, even though I love Emeka Egbuka. To me, I don't really feel like that's fully worth it, but still an amazing addition for this team. Then we had the Cardinals, again, going Dallas Turner, pairing him up with B.J. Ojolari and Myjai Sanders is going to be a nasty trio there for the future. So the issue that I have is that a lot of these guys are more so pass rushing specialists who are a little bit lighter. I'd hope for maybe getting someone like Braylon Trice who has a little bit more of that run stuffing ability at that 270 frame. Then you got the New England Patriots going Brock Bowers, super weapon out of Georgia. I'm not going to complain about that whatsoever. He's much better than Hunter Henry, and he's much better than what they have there in Mike Gesicki in the slot. Then you got the Rams going J.C. Latham. That was usually the pick that I used to go, but I don't like J.C. Latham personally. Well, not on a personal level. I don't know who he is as a person, but my own take, I didn't really think he has the work ethic required, so I guess that is a personal hit. But he also is extremely raw. This is a team that could take time to develop someone like that. But if you're sitting here at number 10, I'd rather trade up to the late first to get a project tackle than take him at number 10. Then you got the Packers going JT Tuimalau. He is out of my top 100. I just don't think he's that great. I think he's a one-hit wonder. Just did not. I mean, he let Amarius Mims in his first ever start look like a 5-star, like top 5 pick versus somebody who'd been playing the entire season. And even if Amarius Mims is that good, he shouldn't be playing that way out the gate versus somebody who is a potential number 11 pick. Also, going back to edge after you get Rashawn Gary back and Lucas Van Ness, hopefully at his peak right now. I don't really get it because I brought it up multiple times. I'm like, wait a second, they just brought in an LVN. So it doesn't really make sense for the Packers to do that, especially with Joe Alt on the board. Bears going Rome Odunze. I don't really feel like this is much of a need for the Bears. I'd rather go after a larger receiver like Johnny Wilson and, have him replace the Chase Claypool role. Rome Odunze, to me, has not proven anything on the field. I don't think he's that great, but I'm always willing to be proven wrong. And, I have a receivers video out that will be eventually redone over the next 2 months where I can give you guys a more in-depth grading scale like I've done on my edges and like I will do on my defensive interior rankings. So you guys can actually see how I break down Rome Odunze overall. Then you got the Steelers going Mason Smith. Actually, speaking of that, he is somebody where I'm not going to give him an official grade. The only tape we have is before he ended up tearing his ACL while celebrating early on in his first game this past year. So intriguing to see that. I like the idea, but maybe in round 2 to get someone as a longer term option for Cam Hayward / Larry Ogunjobi. But let's pipe down really quickly because I don't think that the Steelers need to invest that early. Vikings and going Bo Nix. I do like Bo Nix a lot, but Minnesota Vikings going that way, if they want to win now, might be the best quarterback for them. But for me, I'd be going Joe Milton. That's my personal take. Raiders and going Jordan Travis. No. I'm just going to be honest now. I want to support Jordan Travis in every single way, shape, and form. The issue is he's just not the great of a quarterback. He's bailed out by top-tier wide receivers. He will continue to be bailed out by top-tier wide receivers with Keon Coleman coming in, as well as Johnny Wilson, who you guys get to see is a top 6 player on my board. I'll scroll down to Johnny's territory just so we have my top-of-the-class guy there. Did Joe Alt go already? I don't believe so. So we'll see when he goes. Jerzon Newton, spoiler alert, this is one of my dream fits for him. Being able to see him with D'Amico Ryans is awesome, and this team does need defensive interior. Broncos going Riley Leonard. He is my QB 10. I ended up just officially grading him, and he has a weaker arm. He's just one of those guys I can't really see as a legitimate starter, but, he doesn't do anything poorly. He just doesn't do anything really well, and he doesn't, knock my socks off in any way, shape, or form. So to me, one, to consider him as a first-round quarterback is a little bit ridiculous, but I understand why some people want to. Then we got the Chargers going Joe Alt. So speaking of, so I guess there was a higher guy on my board, but Joe Alt out of Notre Dame, an amazing player, just one of those more consistent tackles. And, I guess you're going to be moving him to right. So, Trey Pipkins 3-year deal. To me, again, you guys see me draft a tackle over Trey Pipkins all the time, especially with the amount of injuries in the NFL. I wouldn't doubt going an offensive tackle is a bad route. We even just saw Titus Howard end up being knocked out as soon as he got a contract. Not for pretty long term, but it was a non-insignificant injury. Seahawks going Barrett Carter. Glad to see them focusing on that defense, especially that linebacking core, because a lot of people are going edge for them, and I don't think that's an immediate pressing issue, but linebacker definitely should be. Giants going Malik Neighbors. Glad to see them trying to get after a wide receiver 1, but personally, I'm not a huge fan of his. I'm not a fan of him as a wide receiver 1. I don't really think that the tape really justifies him being a wide receiver 1. There's a lot that he needs to work, and the intricacies of his route running and his overall release package. The majority of what he gets open are either schemed for him or else he uses his physicality, which I love seeing that you can do that, but you got to do a little bit more than, throw Kool-Aid McKinstry off to get open. I'd love to see him be able to use and just drop his hips and flip them so well that, Kool-Aid doesn't even have time to respond. Obviously, I'm just thinking of Amari Cooper when I'm thinking of someone who's that fluid with their hips. But, Malik Neighbors does not have that, but we'll see what happens. I think that investing in the wide receiver position is great for the Giants. Again, you guys know me. I'm a little bit biased here for my boy, Johnny Wilson. So I'll scroll down a little bit more so you guys get a little bit more on my board as well. Saints go Makuba. I guess if you want to replace Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May for the long run, you could look at safety. I just think that this class has a good amount of depth at that safety position where even if you're sitting here at 21 in the second round, so roughly, you think about it, 32 plus 21, 53, you still probably could snipe a really good guy. I don't think that you need to press the issue right here. Interior offensive line could be a good position to go. It's another position you could wait on, but I personally would just be pressing on the wide receivers. Again, if Johnny Wilson is there, pairing him up with Chris Olave would be ridiculous. And then, having him in the slot with, even rotating Rashid Shaheed in there and then Michael Thomas, of course, that's just a nasty group. And you just continue throwing more at the offense and developing the defense. Dolphins going Marius Mims is the best case scenario for the team. He's just such a stud, 6'7", 330 pounds. He has already played right tackle. It is up for debate as to whether he's playing right or left based on the 3 different depth charts I've seen, but we'll see what happens. Either way, he still has experience at right tackle. If they end up taking him and he's played left tackle the past year, I'm just going to tell all you Dolphins fans, please wait a year. As painful as it makes me to say that, or as much as it pains me to say that, because I said it for Evan Neal. Penei Sewell was the one guy who kind of changed that, but these guys who are going from left tackle to right need some time to adjust. And that's not great with Tua being around because you kind of want to get, protection there, but it's a long run thing. Jaguars going Braylon Trice. I know that Josh Allen is, I believe, up for a contract, and they could just try to continue getting better. Arden Key no longer there. But I actually just saw the Jaguars today in person versus the Cowboys, so that was an awesome experience. Got to see Deuce Vaughn, my number 37 player in the draft, perform really well in person. Love that for him. But I don't really know if the Jaguars need too much help on the edge right now. But Braylon Trice, he is my number 7 player in the draft, so I don't think that would be a bad idea whatsoever. Scrolling down a little bit more so you guys get a little bit more of my board. Ravens then going Leonard Taylor, who definitely is going to be featured in my top 32. I'm just going to spoil it right now. He's for sure featured in my top 32. Might be featured in my top 15. That's how good he is. So got to show some love to Leonard Taylor right there. My big issue with him is probably going to be his conditioning. He's not on the field very often. And when he is, he's amazing until you can tell he gets a little bit tired. So I hope that he gets a little bit more in shape over time. Detroit Lions and going DeCorian Patterson. This is the second time I've seen him in the first round. I have not watched him because I don't watch Middle Tennessee State tape, but seeing him go to UCF, there's a lot of really good corners who go there. I doubt that he will end up rising to this level when there are guys like Kalen King, Denzel Burke, even Dwight McLaughlin out of Arkansas. I think that there's some solid corners that's very tough competition to get ahead of, but still a fun player to mention nonetheless. And if you guys know me, I'm never going to make my opinion on a corner finalized until I see all 22. And given the fact that I have a very limited access to it based on, those of you who know where to get all 22, we all know the struggle of waiting for them to post the right ones. DeCorian Patterson might be somebody who we have to wait for a little bit on. So I'm not going to tell you guys and promise you guys I can watch him right away because I can't. I watched all the corners that there's all 22 on, but very excited to give you guys an update when there is that because I'm not going to watch normal game tape where you can't watch the full rep. That's not fair to you. You guys come to people like me for actual feedback on the players, and giving you guys a half-assed excuse of a scouting report just to say I have one, not really my brand. Kingsley Suamataia, right tackle out of BYU, formerly Oregon. I love this for the Packers. I think that you could end up looking at that left tackle spot. People are saying Zach Tom is doing a really good job at right, and I love Zach Tom. I think he should just play left. Zach Tom ended up playing left at his final year there at Wake Forest, so I don't really feel like there's anything bad with that. And so I don't really think this is a bad pick at all. Some people, again, will say, like, hey, go for the left tackle. But this right tackle class is very, very loaded. Left tackle class, you really do fall off a cliff after the top 2. Unless Amarius Mims plays left tackle. But you know what it is. Got to stay hydrated, kids. Now we go on to pick number 27, Cowboys going Graham Barton. He's probably going to end up. The one thing I actually really like about this is, one, he's going to play guard. That's just the truth. The tackles the Cowboys have good length. And I think they'll end up re-signing Terrence Steele if they haven't already. I'm slipping my mind at the moment. But I think that Graham Barton will slide into guard when but Tyron Smith ends up retiring. So Tyler Smith will kick the tackle. Then Graham Barton will go to guard. He is extremely athletic. He's a very fun, very moldable offensive lineman. Formerly a center as well, so he could even kick to center. He actually got brought to Duke as a center. Very excited to see what he is going to do. Then we got the Bills going Cameron Kitchens, best safety in the class. I think that this would be an excellent move. With Poyer as well as Hyde getting older, there's always a need for another ball hawk, and you never can complain. It's a pick I do myself. Bengals going Rook Ororo. Another guy who I think right now I have in my top 32. I do at number 26. So I'll scroll down a little bit more for y'all. But, I don't necessarily think the Bengals need to hit it this early. I'd personally look at tight end. I'd look at safety. Hell, you could, if you end up not wanting Tyler Boyd on your team, just think about this. You could get a 6'7", 240-pound target to be your slot tight end in Johnny Wilson. But that's just because I'm a big Johnny Wilson guy. So it is what it is. Miles Murphy, it could end up being back with his buddy Rook, but I don't really know if that's a position I would need to target. I still think it wouldn't be a bad one. Eagles aren't going to take a running back in the first. No teams, apart from unless they're really super groundbreaking and special, are going to take RBs in the first anymore. There's just not a big enough return on investment. And I know it's an easy pick for the Eagles because it is probably their worst unit, but they're really good at getting very good value. So they could end up bringing Swift back on a 1-year deal, Penny back on a 1-year deal. They've been doing shit like that with Boston Scott for a hot minute. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up having guys like this also in a similar mold. Malachi Corley, yes, that guy's definitely on my watch list. I've heard a lot about him. It's very good. One of those guys who I definitely like to see a little bit more of before I give you an official report on him, but he is nasty after the catch. That's what I do know. So I'm very excited to see how Malachi Corley ends up testing out because, definitely could be a San Francisco 49ers level wide receiver. I'd personally go for the right tackle or right guard spot, but getting more weapons is never a bad thing for your inexperienced quarterbacks. Chiefs going Troy Franklin, not going to disagree with this one. He pretty much going to get MVS 2.0, and that's a very good thing, except he's going to be lighter. He's 178 at 6'2". That's kind of the big issue with him, but he is super fluid with his routes. I think that he does have an issue when it comes to dealing with press down the field, and that could end up being an issue. But, you do have some guys who are a little bit more built for the physicality, like Rashee Rice in there, and going after a wide receiver ain't a bad idea whatsoever. Now, going to round 2, Jesus. McKinley Jackson. I don't want to spoil everything that I'm going to be talking about, but McKinley is roughly around this range for me. I really like McKinley Jackson. He moves similarly to Kalijah Cansey, but at 320 pounds. I don't think he's as efficient. I don't think his body understands how to control itself at the speed that he penetrates gaps, but he is an absolutely awesome player to watch. And I do believe I have Arizona as one of my dream spots for him. So I'll let the rest of that scouting report be driven out to you guys in the video coming soon. Texans going Princely. At 245 pounds, he pushes the passer better than probably anybody that I've seen. He actually is 285, but also the big issue is he kind of moves like he's 285, which is really weird. So he does have big arms. He knows how to push the pocket, but if he's able to turn on that speed and is able to just absolutely whoop ass, because he already has all the power, if he can convert speed to power, that would be nasty. It's someone who could be a huge riser, but I do have some concerns over his overall athleticism or his motor if he has it. Colts then going Tyler Guyton. So I'm excited to see some of my guys starting to crawl up here. I know my boy Daniel Johnson is, he was the one who pointed out Tyler Guyton to me. I ended up looking at him. He's a beast. I think right now, I don't know what I have going on over here. I don't have Tyler Guyton in this one, but for you guys who I'm just going to give you a sneak peek. That is what I'm building right now. Tyler Guyton is featured in the top of the board. So not like first round quality, but in that second tier. So I think this is a great idea, but I don't like the Colts going after a right tackle. I don't believe he's playing left this year. If he is, then I could totally, that's something that I honestly am going to admit I did not do enough research on, is seeing what he's going to do this year. But he was a right tackle last year, came in when Wanya Morris was hurt and actually balled the F out. So very excited to see how Tyler Guyton's going to do this year. If he's a left tackle, then awesome. If he's a right, I'm not going to be trying to replace Braden Smith anytime soon. Titans going Kalen King. I have him as a top 10 player on my board. So obviously I'm going to fully support the Titans going after him. A lot of people are talking about DB to the Titans early. I'm not really overall hyped up about putting DB this high for the Titans, but you can never go wrong with boosting that position. Panthers going Denzel Burke. He is a project, but he is a very, very fun player to watch. So excited to see what Denzel Burke is going to continue doing, because he is a very fun player, very athletic, and he's getting actually a pretty bad rap. This is a really good range for him in the real NFL draft, because he did have some injuries he was dealing with, and he did have a little bit of a fall off, but he got better over the year, and I got to give him credit where credit is due. Falcons going Cooper DeJean. He's going to be a safety. I highly doubt that they really need that with Jesse Bates there, so I feel like that's quite a wasted pick and a wasted talent there in Cooper DeJean, because if he can play safety where Jesse Bates is, he's going to absolutely tear up. And I think that, for example, the Bengals, I think that's an excellent spot for him to go and play that Jesse Bates role. Then you got the Cardinals going Donovan Jackson, pairing him back up with his buddy there in Paris Johnson would be really, really cool. I think that it's good enough value, so I'm not going to disagree with it. Travion Henderson also for the Cardinals. I don't think he's RB2 in this class. I still think that probably the three best ones are still on the board, but it is what it is. Jordan Morgan, I could see him going this high, but he tore his ACL at the end of last year. I thought he was a very solid tackle, but nothing impressive for me. But tackle is a position I would go after if I were the Patriots. Rams going Quinn Ewers. Highly doubt that he'll be down this far, but his big issue is his deep accuracy. So got to call that out as it is as well. And I'm just hoping that Quinn gets better when it comes to that deep placement, because he has a cannon of an arm. He has really good placement in short and medium range. And he actually has some really good traits that push him. I mean, you guys get to see it right here. He's on the tier of Drake May for me. I think he's a really good quarterback. Very excited to see what he can do this year with A.D. Mitchell. Then you got the Green Bay Packers going Donovan Edwards, wrong Michigan back, but this guy has a lot of determination. I do like Donovan Edwards, but I don't think that he has the physical ability or the physical ceiling that some other backs do in the class. Bears going Chop Robinson. If you want to develop an edge rusher, not a bad idea whatsoever. I'd personally be going after more of a day one ready edge rusher. To be fair, there's not many of them that are left on the board. But Tyler Barron's a guy, he's honestly a project, so I'm kind of biting myself in the ass here. But there's just not many guys who can fit the role. It's not a good edge class. There's a good top of the class, and then you start going and seeing which ones you like. Chop Robinson has some good traits, so I could totally see him going much higher than this. Steelers going Matt Goncalves. I have not seen him. If I'm just going to be honest, I have not seen him. And that's a name I need to watch. So after this, guess what's going to be on my watch list? Because I love looking at offensive tackles. And they're talking about sending him to my Steelers. And he's 6'6", 330. I always love watching offensive tackles. So, Chukuma Okorafor was kind of buns. So I'm excited to see if he's actually worth the hype. Which feel free to drop a comment and then I'll respond to it after I do my report on him. Then you got Will Shipley. He's a fun player. This guy is... He knows how to shift to top gear. This guy could definitely rise up to be one of the top running backs in the class. Minnesota definitely needs that. Michael Hall, I could totally see him going this range. I have him going top 64. I don't like him that much, really at all, but I understand that, there's a ton of untapped potential there. He's a very high upside pick. So, it's a good value pick given what, where he should go. Adisa Isaac, got to shout out my boy Chris. I'm 95% sure. Yes. Chiefs Durham. Yeah, I believe it's Chris. Please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I've talked to you too, so I'm 95% sure it's Chris. He brought up Adisa Isaac. He didn't pop off to me when I was watching Chop, but I highly doubt that he's going to be much worse than Chop's overall grade. So I'm excited to give him a full scout as well. Again, I studied the guys who have that all 22 first, and there's all 22 rolling in every 2 weeks. So guys like this are definitely on the pipeline, but until they're in, they're not in. Then you got the Saints going Xavier Worthy. I feel like it's a little redundant when you do have, you have somebody who's a very similar style of talent, great deep speed. I think Xavier Worthy's a much worse route runner than Chris Olave, and I don't really think he's much better than Rashid Shaheed. So even though I kind of commended going wide receiver for the Saints earlier, I cannot commend this one. So not a fan. I don't think Xavier Worthy's that good either. Chargers going Blake Corum. Not going to doubt this one because I do think Austin Eckler could be gone, and he's a good back. I'm not gonna scoff at it too much. Chris Jenkins, again, holding back on giving a full eval of him because that's what the whole entire point of the video I'm dropping is. I love him. That's all I'll say. He's really good, but he's 285. Let's pipe down, my friend. Let's pipe down. He's listed at 285 right now, not 300 pounds. If he ends up getting to 300, which I think he can because he's very athletic, this guy could end up being a top 10 selection. He is that good. A really fun player. So they do need defensive interior. I like seeing them go linebacker and D-tackle. Then you got New York Giants going Leatu Latu. He's going to be a pretty interesting one. I know they run a lot of wide 9. They're at New York, if I'm not mistaken. Feel free to, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but, it's Wink Martindale defense. But Leatu Latu ended up having to medically retire because of a neck injury. Highly doubt that he's going to go this high. Injury is something that does drop players quite a bit in the NFL draft, and edge rusher is not a position I think is over the top for them on the priority. Then you got the Eagles going James Williams. I think that's an absolutely awesome selection. They run a lot. They move their safeties around everywhere. And James Williams, he doesn't have an official grade either. Safety is probably going to be my next position I fully grade out. And my God, just watching Leonard Taylor tape, you get to see Cameron Kinchins and James Williams make play after play after play. These guys are absolute monsters. And it's kind of an enigma or a mystery to me how the hell Miami is not that good because they have guys everywhere. And I mean everywhere. So it's James Williams is a stud. I remember watching him as a true freshman and saying this guy's going to be a top 10 pick. It's tough now for a strong safety to really garner that, but he is a freak show. I would love to see him potentially even play linebacker / safety hybrid. Then you got the Dolphins going Cooper Beebe. I'm not going to bat an eye on this one. It's a good pick. He's going offensive line. It's not a bad idea ever. And, the Dolphins can always upgrade. So continue to upgrade on the line. Never a bad idea, in my opinion. Jaguars going Torrey Horton out of Colorado State. I'm going to be 100% honest. I have not heard of the name Torrey Horton. So to see him here is just another name in the pipeline. He does not have all 22 yet. So very excited to be able to study this guy and give you feedback. But I think wide receiver above Zay Jones is probably a position that I've been trying to target. And I think I'm going to recommend doing that as well. But I don't think Zay Jones is ass by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's a good receiver, but you can always upgrade. I do think Jacksonville will make it to the AFC Championship, maybe lose out to the Chiefs, but the Jacksonville Jaguars are just a team I have a lot of faith in. And by the way, Nathan Rourke, I remember I tweeted out, I was seeing these throws. I'm like, damn, that is NFL, those are NFL starter throws right there. So I tweeted it out. And then those of you guys who've probably seen on Twitter now, he made this crazy move where he ended up evading 3 different pass rushers who are grabbing him, and then he threw a touchdown from it. It reminded me of Carson Wentz when he was just doing some crazy shit in his prime. So you guys have a really good backup there, much better than CJ bum-ass Beathard. Not a fan of that guy. But, anywho, love the Jaguars. I think they're in really good hands, especially if Rourke ends up ascending to QB2. And I think you guys could have a Nick Foles type of story here, which, funny enough, I mentioned Carson Wentz in his prime. Could be kind of the reverse there. In case anything happens to Trevor, you guys actually might be in good hands. Regardless, I do think wide receiver, not a bad idea. I would personally go Keon Coleman, but he is an amazing wide receiver for the Ravens because he is that 6'4", 215-pound frame. They're going to Florida State, and just the YOLO balls for Florida State this year are going to be ridiculous. When Broshma and I do our CFB top 25, you bet your ass I'm going to be putting him up there, and I know Broshma is too. He's going to be a freak show. I'm very excited to see. Like, Lamar is good at targeting bigger wide receivers anyway, and Keon is a fun player to watch. Tyleik Williams, this is one of my dream locations for him. Again, not going to be spoiling something that's coming out in like 2 days, but he is somebody I have relatively highly. You get to see it on my board. And I was hoping just to keep Taliese Fuaga in the frame, but I'm going to scroll down a little bit for you guys so you see a little bit more of my board. But Tyleik Williams is somebody who has a ton of potential. I feel like he's just 10% off in most categories, and he could end up eclipsing that 10% development over this year. He is a freak. Some people even say he's up to 330 pounds, but just somebody, his athleticism is off the charts for his size, and you can definitely tell the tools are there. A lot of guys who aren't very productive, a lot of people just say, oh, they're a toolsy player, and it's not true. They're not close enough to say that they have the tools required for like a 1-year ascension. Tyleik is one of those guys where he's close enough, in my opinion. Packers going Jason Marshall. I don't think that corner is a huge issue for them, but I think if Jason Marshall's here at that 6'1", 200-pound frame, you just can't pass it. It's a highly valuable position, and this guy's very physical. I would not doubt it for a second that this wouldn't be an excellent selection for the Packers. Because, again, if you're not going to go QB, not a bad idea at all. I think that it kind of makes up for that edge rushing pick. I don't think this cornerback's a huge need for them, but Jason Marshall's just really, really good value at this point. Cowboys then going Jack Sawyer. He needs a lot of help when it comes to processing what's going on in the field. My guy does not know where the ball's at, really ever, and that's his biggest downside, is just not knowing where the play is. But if he ends up getting more comfortable with that, which, extra reps, extra time should be able to help, then he's going to be a really good player. Tommy Eichenberg for the Bills is an A+ move. I don't really think Dorian Williams is the best of the best, but I think Terrell Bernard could end up ruining Tommy Eichenberg's chance of really being able to step in and be an every down starter, because I like Terrell Bernard, but I think Tommy Eichenberg is a better player. Just might ruin the pure ascension of him, but you never know. Matt Milano's role might be taken over by Tommy Eichenberg. Then you got Jatavian Sanders. I think tight end's a great move for the Bengals. Talked about it earlier, and Jatavian would have been the guy it would have taken in the first round. Ben Sinnott, K-State. I could totally see the Eagles doing this. I like Sinnott. I actually like both of the tight ends that they have there at K-State. They're both very, very good fluid movers, and they're both good after the catch. This is a great location to be able to have a nice backup tight end. So, I'm not going to bat an eye at this one either. I think that Tyree Jackson just not the future answer, even though he does perform well as a tight end. Getting a dedicated true tight end from college probably is a better idea for a team that likes to use tight ends. Niners then going Kiran. Oh, shit. I don't even know how to say this. Gadje? I don't know. Out of Yale. As you guys can tell, I also have not seen this player, so it's another player in the books. Yale rarely has guys who are that high end, but you never know. I mean, there's guys who come from UConn, like Matt Peart, who could be a really good option. Speaking of UConn, Christian Haynes could have been a really good pick for this team, but very excited to see some more football, some more tackle tape. But what scares me is that Jack Nelson is here, because this guy is low-key a bum. No disrespect for the man on a personal level, but on a professional level, he's way too hot and cold. I'm thinking about my grade for him. He is one of my lower, if not my lowest graded left tackle in the class. I highly doubt that he's one of the best pass blockers in the nation when my brother is always whipping on his blocks. He's just way too inconsistent for me. And for a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, where you want to, your focal point's your quarterback, I highly doubt that going after a tackle that is inconsistent is the best way to go. Now we got the Cardinals going Traore. Interesting. Okay. So, yeah. So Traore is not somebody that I've studied yet. The tight end class is, still up in the air for me. He's one of those big slot guys at 232. Yeah, very intriguing to say the least. I don't think that we've seen Johnny Wilson go off the board yet. I might be mistaken on that one, which later on, if I end up realizing I'm like, oh crap, then you bet I'm going to command F that to make sure that I remember. But, if you're looking for a big slot and he's not taken, that's the guy you obviously go with. Traore has a ton of potential though. So very excited to see it, but not somebody who I'm going to give you an in-depth scouting report on just yet. SVP is someone who I have worth a top 64 pick, so getting him here at 66, worth it. And you get an offensive lineman, not going to complain whatsoever. Pick number 67, Ricky Barber. So I haven't seen Ricky, if I'm going to be completely honest. He actually is on my watch list for interior defensive lineman that I am still finishing up. But the guys who would actually compete for that top 15, oh, spoiler alert, it's going to be a top 15, have already been graded. Then you got the Cardinals going Brandon Dorless. I do like Brandon Dorless, just not that much. I mean, my guy has a 25% missed tackle rate. Like, dude, you got to wrap up, my friend. He is 290 as an edge rusher, though. He's a weird tweener. It's just, like, I kind of want him just to slim down to 270 and then do what he does and maybe get a little bit better with his tackling. It's just, he's a little bit scary in terms of that missed tackle rate. But Arizona getting D-line help, never a bad idea. Jeremiah Trotter should not be here. This is a sin. But the Carolina Panthers take advantage of Satan getting his way. So Jeremiah Trotter, he is a really talented player. As you guys can see, he is number 16 on my board. So now I can scroll down even more. But Jeremiah Trotter is excellent selection for the Panthers. I don't think that they need to go linebacker, but this team doesn't have that many holes, and this is a good spot to go. I'd look at tight end as well with someone like Jaheim Bell, who is in the area now because he's at Florida State, and I think he was at South Carolina. So they've had their eyes on him for a while. So definitely a guy they should look at. Omar Spates out of LSU, I have yet to grade him, but he's kind of going to be your like Walmart version right here of Jeremiah Trotter. So that's all I got to say. Don't think the Falcons need a linebacker because I actually like Caden Ellis as well as Troy Anderson, but never going to decline getting extra help in that linebacking room. Ruben, I'm going to be 100% honest. I've not seen him either. I've seen other Texas A&M players like Layden Robinson, but not Ruben yet. So I will definitely get back to you guys on that. But, being able to have a 6'8", 315-pound player, that might be a little bit thin, in my opinion, for the 6'8" guys, because that's where I really want you to have that 320 plus. I know it's 5 pounds difference, but, just like the way that you can handle yourself, just, the bigger you are, the more it can become stretched out. So it's the equivalent of, maybe a 6'6" guy at, at 300. And I'd be a little bit worried about that. So 6'8", 315, I have a right to be a little bit worried. But he could end up being a really good complement to Tristan Wirfs if he is a talented tackle. ZTF to the Commanders. I love this idea. ZTF has a ton of potential. He just kind of regresses here and there. He's been dealing with injuries over his career. He ended up changing his overall physique. He went from 270 down to the 250 range. So, he's been doing a lot of change, and maybe finally being stabilized will help him out. And having Braylon Trice take a lot of the attention probably helps him out. And this team definitely needs the depth at edge rusher. Whether he's going to start or not, they need it. Then you got the Patriots going Kalen Bullock. Ridiculous value for him. As you could tell, I was waiting to be able to scroll down a little bit more because he is a beast. He deserves it. And I am actually going to leave it right here because I have two guys who have yet to come off the board. Probably won't for a while. Devondre Sweat. Oh, I'm not supposed to tell you. He's 355. He's not 340. So stop that. But he is, nobody's a Jordan Davis combine athlete at their size, but Devondre is a ridiculous athlete at 355. Again, not 340. Don't know why they're getting incorrect stats there, but it is what it is. Rams could definitely use somebody who is a freak at that size, like Devondre Sweat. Green Bay Packers going Tyler Nubbin. He is intriguing, but personally, I don't really think they necessarily need to go after Nubbin. He is going to be one of those more larger enforcing safeties. I don't know if he has the athletic upside, but, we'll see. We'll see. I haven't seen enough of Nubbin in order to fall in love, and I love Minnesota DBs, so things can change, but it hasn't yet. JJ Weaver, ooh, this is really high for him. Really high. JJ is older, too. I like JJ Weaver. That's the thing. This is way, way too high from someone who's a big supporter of him. Bears continuing to go edge after Chop Robinson, not necessarily the best idea because I feel like it's a team that could try to develop depth elsewhere than, a position that's not great. Steelers then going Mario Williams. He could end up being, a good depth player, but in the third round, I highly doubt the Steelers will need to go after this way with Calvin Austin coming into his own and finally being healthy, but this team does need some extra wide receiver depth of starter quality players, but I don't think they need depth of depth players because we have a ton of them. We do. Then we got the Detroit Lions going Will Shepherd out of Vanderbilt. Another player who I have yet to see because, again, all 22 is very sparse as it is. And I don't know any of us brothers who are going to be requesting Will Shepherd. I'm just going to be 100% honest. But a player who I love is Antoine Wells, who we'll talk about in a second. But 6'3", 200-pounder, very intriguing because I do think an X-build wide receiver is required for the Lions to truly have success, and that is a good build. Question is he deserving of a third-round pick? Highly doubt it. But Antoine Wells is someone who I love. Where do I have him on my board right here? I have him at 53. I might end up having him higher when I finish that other board that I already hinted to you guys. But I'm not going to complain about this at all. Excellent value for the best after the catch receiver. Oh, that's a lie. I think Corley might be better. But one of the top of the creme de la creme of the after the catch receivers here. In round 3. Dante Corleone's a freak. I just want him to be a lot more consistent, and I don't feel like he has that consistency that gets me going yet, but certainly a very good player and high upside. But I don't really know if they need to go D-tackle consistently because, they seem to be pretty happy with getting the guys down the line. J.J. McCarthy, again, Joe Milton's still on the board. Don't really understand why you'd want to go after someone who is like 50 pounds lighter, sub 200. And if they show interest in Anthony Richardson, I don't really know why you would go after somebody who is nothing like Anthony. Weaker arm, much smaller build, not as athletic, even though he's pretty solid as an athlete. And I like J.J. McCarthy, but there's just nothing compared to Joe Milton. And funnily enough, Joe Milton got ran out of Michigan. But Joe Milton now, after learning from Hendon Hooker and Heupel, he's just a different level of player. So I feel like this is a really bad pick, but quarterback's not a bad idea, especially in this range. Then you got Chris Abrams-Drain for the Chargers. I love that because he can end up, if Alohi Gilman doesn't end up performing, going to that route, or he can end up being just a boundary corner. So I like him a lot. Chris Abrams-Drain was one of my guys last year. Jaquan Shepard, one of those guys who I've actually seen a couple times in the first round. I love Maryland DBs, so very excited for when All 22 comes out, Jaquan, for me to be able to break him down for you guys. But Seahawks getting an extra corner, it's the third round. I feel like that's something that fits their overall identity. And, 6'2", 200 pounds, it's very intriguing to see how fast he'd be at that great size. Then you got Trey Benson here. That's an A++++ pick for the Giants, which so far they've been doing a really good job with their drafts. So good for them. I don't really have much to say about it. He'd probably end up starting, with Saquon Barkley ending up probably leaving and trying to get some more money elsewhere. Broncos going Bucky Irving. It's interesting to see what happens there with Javonte because not many running backs perform nearly close to the level that they were before their ACL the same year they come back from it. But Bucky Irving is one of the best running backs in this class. Very excited to see what he's going to do. Heard some very good things about Patrick Paul, another guy who is on the watch list. Again, you can only do one thing at a time, and Patrick Paul is actually one of those guys who's pretty damn close on that pipeline of dudes to watch. Braylon Allen, I'm not a huge fan of his actual personality. I've heard from people who have played with him and just insiders in the locker room that he's somebody who is kind of more Hollywood. Does he deserve to be because he's a freaking monster? Yes, but personally, I don't want somebody who has that I'm the shit type of mentality. That's just not me. I'm not a huge fan of people who have big egos. And Braylon appears to be like that. Now, there are plenty of big egos that end up working out in the NFL. So I'm not going to crap on a team for doing that because the Ravens, if it ends up working out. But, it'd be ridiculous to see him in that backfield. I just have to put in my little 2 cents right there because he is kind of in that Derrick Henry mold. Then we got the Detroit Lions going Justin Jacobs. Very excited to see him transition to Oregon. Forgetting who was there, I think it was Justin Flo. He's taking that role, which he's a perfect fit for that role. I think he could take a huge step up, very athletic. He just needs a lot more development and needs to be healthy. That's just the big thing. Ladarius Henderson. I don't think he's a transition, or he's a transfer, but And I'm not really fully sure if these transfer tackles to Michigan are that good. There's not many offensive tackles that have been good from Michigan. And you can't just scout the name on the helmet, of course. But for me, I get worried about sometimes you do have to scout the helmet because that's how they train their players. It's what they're looking for in offensive linemen. And if that's not what the NFL is looking for when you're going out and getting people and you're acquiring them, it's very rare that you're going to bring in somebody that fits something else than what the school is looking for. And that so far has not been what the NFL is. So worried about that. I think that just going after a tackle is a brilliant idea, but maybe just a different tackle overall. We still have plenty of dudes in this range who have yet to go. So that's why I'm leaving it right there. Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. He has obviously not had enough reps for me to give him, any credit, but I think Deuce Vaughn is going to be the starting running back for the Cowboys, or he might be in combo with Tony Pollard. Deuce looked amazing today. I know, I was there, which made me so happy to see him score a touchdown, but y'all know Deuce Vaughn was my number 37 player on my board, my number 2 overall running back. So, I know I'm crazy for doing that, but I'm perfectly fine being crazy because I'm honest with you guys, and I think that's what I owe you, not the scouting report that you want to hear, but the scouting report that I genuinely had. So continuing on, Bill's going Jacob Cowing. I don't know enough about Cowing, but he's much smaller. That's what I do know. I did scout him, but again, it's from last year's scouting report. I haven't done it this year. So I think going after a slot receiver like Cowing, not necessarily what I would do if I'm up there in the cold getting somebody who's sub 170, but I don't think that he's a producer for sure. I just don't really believe that he's what the Bills should be looking for. Bengals going Zion Nelson. I'm hoping that he stays healthy and can have that ascension. I'm a little bit lower on that personally. I just don't like it. But Bengals do need some help at tackle. That's for sure. We found that out today. Then you got Devontae Walker, wide receiver out of UNC. I've seen quite a few plays of his. I don't really think he is a high-end receiver. And when you got guys like Xavier Hutchinson who have the same height but have much better size and would be playing a similar role, I don't really think that you need to go after somebody who is kind of like a smaller, worse version of that. So I don't really know. Maybe I'll just end up biting my words because I have yet to study this guy in all 22. It was because I was studying Drake May, but we'll see what happens there for sure. Not a huge fan of 6'3", 175 unless you can really pull it off like Troy Franklin can. Then we got the Niners going Jordan Burch, another guy who's on my pipeline, but he obviously he's not the creme de la creme of the class. There's a reason a lot of people who I've seen scout him definitely have him as a later day 3 pick. Does that mean that's the end all be all? No. I mean, when you look at guys like Broshmo versus my rankings, my number 2 tackle can be his number 14. So that doesn't mean it's not the end all be all, but usually, when there's that big of a disconnect, there's a reason for it. And, there's just better D linemen in this class. Personally, I've seen a lot of really good ones. Jordan Burch has so far not been one of them. Mekhi Wingo. He's not 275. I don't know where this is coming from. This is not right. He's 295. Again, I don't understand what's up with this, but Mekhi Wingo, he's somebody I'm going to hold off the deep explanation again. I have to remind myself, but he's a really good gap penetrator. He's good at block shedding, but his big issue is he doesn't go forward. And it's hard to imagine that, but you don't see, he'll stand in place and pretty much do all of his moves. He's not going to combo it with a push. And for me, that's a big no-no because the NFL, especially when it's a pass rush, the quarterback's getting rid of it in under 3 seconds. If you're standing in place and then going forward, you're just not going to be able to do that at the next level. So just have to call that out as it is. But Mekhi Wingo at this value has some really big upside. Again, don't know why they're misquoting his weight. Then you got Tavion Nicholson out of Illinois. He's again on that. He's on that Illinois pipeline, and right now I'm trying to actually get in contact with Illinois' DB coach. We'll see how that goes, but maybe we could bring him on the show, and then he'll talk about it, and he'll actually end up talking about Nicholson. But 5'11", 170 is not bad. I'm not a big fan of that at all. And he obviously didn't have enough starting quality reps last year against number one receivers because you had Devin Witherspoon, you had Quay Martin, and then obviously those were in that safety role. But with Chase Brown's brother, why am I forgetting? Sidney Brown. So 3 out of the 4 spots, I'm pretty sure he was the 4th guy, but he was going up against number 2s. I want to see him go up against number 1s at that 170-pound frame. So very scared about that. Let's speed this up. Kalen Carson, have not studied him yet, but going DB for the Cardinals, never a bad idea. Tony Grimes, high upside UNC transfer to Texas A&M. When Tamu brings in a transfer for a corner, and they already have all that high-end talent, it shows that this guy's going to be a really good player. The question is, will it be at the NFL level? I don't know. Colts going Layden Robinson, that guy's straight buns. I would never draft him. So, it's might be better than Will Fries, but that's a big stretch. Rod Morris, solid quality safety for the Titans. I don't think I'm going to complain about that too much. Jalen McMillan, he's going to end up being in that DJ Chark role, but I don't really think he deserves to get the starting reps, and I'm a big fan of Jalen McMillan. I was a big guy for him. Not really doing that anymore. Falcons, I could never see them going after Spencer Rattler after they kind of had that drama last year with Marcus Mariota. They look for probably guys who are good locker room guys, and Spencer Rattler is just, I'm going to keep it positive and just move on, but he is not what I would be looking for. Cole Bishop's a very quality safety at the outside the top 100 for Buccaneers. DBs are valuable. Even if you have plenty of them, this is still really good value to get some good depth there out of the top 100. Lathan Ransom, another guy who definitely is deserving of this selection. But again, my official thoughts on safeties are yet to come. Xavier Thomas for the Patriots feels perfect. He kind of is like, he's a little bit older, high upside, really good athlete, similar to Keon White. So this is a perfect fit for him. Then you got the Rams going Max Melton, brother of Bo Melton. I know he had a lot better offers than this, but I believe his father went to Rutgers. So he kind of did it out of family thing. But Rams need corners pretty desperately. Then you got Michael Penix going to the Green Bay Packers. I'm excited to see him down here, and I think this is okay. He doesn't exactly have the movement skills that I would be looking for a quarterback like this. They like Sean Clifford a lot, so you could debate that that's a better move, but I'm not going to get on their ass too much for taking a high upside quarterback when healthy at outside the top 100. Then you got Kenny Logan Jr., safety out of Arkansas. Safety out of Kansas. I have yet to study him, so I am going to hold off on that. But the Bears getting depth at safety, never a bad idea, and letting them get trained by Eddie Jackson is a pretty good idea. Steelers going Tyron Hopper. This is a fun one, but I feel like his best traits are as a pass rusher, so it might kind of overlap with Nick Herbig. That's something I am a little bit worried about, but Tyron Hopper outside the top 100 again, really good value because he's an excellent player. And I might even have him in my top 64. I do there at number 61. A little bit annoyed that we have yet to see guys like Tyler Barron or Jermaine Burton come off the board, but I'll scroll down so you guys get some more names anyways. Ashton Galote out of Louisville. I think that he's a transfer. I might be wrong about that. If he's not, I'm 90% sure that he is. I haven't studied him yet. He's not one of those guys who's high up on my pipeline, but, Louisville knows what they're doing with edge rushers. Speaking of them, I saw one today in Yasir Abdullah. Really liked him. I thought he was still a little bit early. I believe he was beginning of the 4th round, but, still they know what they're doing with those edge rushers, Yaya Diaby, as well as Yasir Abdullah, both quality players. So I would doubt that Galote is any different. Then we got Johnny Cornelius. I think he's going to be an interior offensive lineman at the next level. I don't think there's very much upside to him personally, but, investing in O-line at this point, never a bad idea. Tim Smith, I have not studied, but D-tackle out of Alabama, going to a guy who's formerly a linebacker out of Alabama, and D'Amico Ryans, never a bad idea. You got Darian Chestnut. He's a good DB. He might be much higher than this at the end of the day for the Jets. Then you got Smail Munden. I'm surprised Jamon Dumas-Johnson has not been taken yet, but the Chargers could continue loading up at linebacker. Never a bad idea. Edge out of Alabama, Chris Braswell. He doesn't have obviously that much tape since the majority of the edge rushing has been done by Will Anderson, as well as Dallas Turner. Joshua Gray. I haven't. He's a tackle, but I like the idea that they have him as a potential guard. My, I have this like I have to see if Johnny Wilson. No, okay, so I'm not insane. Okay, holy crap, guys, this is ridiculous. I thought I was going crazy. I was like, Johnny Wilson, my number 6 player hasn't even gone yet. Ridiculous. Jaguars going Nate Wiggins. I actually like that quite a bit. He has a lot of potential. I don't feel like he tries 100% on every play, but this is a good spot where he could try to push it for a Super Bowl. Love it. I'm not fully on board with him going this high, but Denver Broncos getting defense interior help. Not the worst thing in the world. Lad McConkey staying in Georgia. I think he's going to end up rising up and potentially being a first round selection. If not, I think he ends up going back. It just depends on how well Georgia performs this year. Satoa Lumea or Laumea, I haven't studied him yet, but Ravens going in offensive guard is probably, it's on brand. So I doubt that Utah develops that high quality of an offensive guard, but if the Ravens go after it, I'm not going to blame them. Then we got Darius Robinson out of Missouri. Missouri has some really good defensive interior players, so I'm perfectly fine with this for the Vikings, even though I haven't seen him myself. I have seen him outside of it while watching other Missouri players. Jaden Hicks out of Wazoo. I think that there's a lot better Wazoo DBs, if I'm just going to be completely frank, than Jaden Hicks. I'm forgetting the guy's name. Oh man, I'm tripping. It's the corner. I think his number is number 6. But that's one of my guys for sure. Wow. It's something Wade. It's Shaw Smith Wade. There we go. He's somebody who I really like, and he could be ending up being a safety as well in the NFL. Much better player than Jaden Hicks from my studying so far. Dallas Cowboys, Moose Muhammad, keeping him in state there in Texas. He's really good after the catch as well. One of those guys who can't handle press whatsoever, and they have some really good depth players. I doubt the Cowboys need to go after it, but, it's pick 123. You got Carson Steele, running back out of UCLA. He obviously hasn't had very many reps yet, so I'm going to hold off my opinion on him. Devin Neal out of Kansas. Kansas has some really good guys. Devin Neal is not one of them that I've seen, but, Kansas knows what the hell they're doing. Andrew Rhyme out of Oklahoma. I wasn't over the moon about him personally. That's my thing, but I'm not going to blame the Bears for trying to upgrade at interior offensive line here in the late 4th round. Tyler Davis, I feel like this is where he should probably be going now to the 49ers, so it's another defensive interior for him. I just ended up falling out of love with him, and I think he's probably still in here somewhere, but I definitely fell out of love with him exponentially. Amari Thomas, also a guy who I'm going to be dropping the hell out of here. Then we got Aiden Robbins out of BYU. I don't know enough about Aiden Robbins. I'm just going to be completely honest, but, we're going to round 5. KC Chiefs going to running back at this point makes no sense. They're really good at sniping him down the board, apparently. Then we got the Cardinals going Shedeur Sanders. If he's on the board, he's not going to be coming out unless he's a first-round quality player. I highly doubt that he ends up coming out, but I have him at number 49 on my overall board. If he somehow does and somehow gets selected here at the beginning of the 5th, this is an A++ move because you traded out, got a ton of first-round picks, and you probably get significantly more than that if that situation were real. So you end up getting that, and then you get Shedeur here. You're in pretty good hands. Then we got Cade Stover. I like Cade Stover. This is a good pick for the Texans. They're still looking for a long-term option at tight end. Colts going Alton McCaskill. I don't think I really need to explain myself when I say I don't fully know enough about McCaskill to say anything about this. Running back could be a position they do need to target, unfortunately. Nazir Stackhouse is not a really good player in my eyes. I don't think he should be taken within the top 250, but you guys will see why in that D tackle video. It's not bad. It's just I would probably give that pick a D. I just don't think it's a great pick. Aranda Gadsden's a fun one out of Syracuse. He's a fun wide receiver, tight end hybrid. There's not much more I can say because there's not all 22 on him, but the tape I have seen is he's definitely one of those players I'm going to enjoy watching with you guys on Twitch. So not Twitch, excuse me, on Discord. So feel free to hop in there with the 700 other people so you guys get to watch it free rather than having to watch a review of it as a premium member. Or you could do that anyways because you love me. Then we got the Falcons and going Dorian Singer, also from Arizona, like Cowing is, but now he's at USC. So we'll see how that goes, but they've already got Lad McConkey as well. I don't really think they need to load up on wide receiver this much. I personally would love to see them going after a corner, though. And I know they went after Cooper DeJean, but like I already talked about him as probably a safety. Then we got Traquise Bridges. There's no way that's real. Oh my Lord. And he's not from Georgia, so I highly doubt the Eagles would take him. But Traquise, my poor guy. T Bridges, we'll call him that. Hopefully, maybe he could be a badass so I could say his name more often. That'd be entertaining, but highly doubt it. Brevin Spanford's a fun player. That's a good pick for Washington Commanders. That's a really good pick for him. Brevin Spanford is 6'7", and I think he's like 260 as well. This guy is a force to be reckoned with. He kind of is. He actually might be 270. He's similar to Darnell Washington, but just like your Walmart version from Minnesota. Then you got Anaya Smith here. He's super dynamic. I'd love to see Bill Belichick and why am I forgetting the dude's name? Bill O'Brien be able to work with a talent like Anais because he's more that running back wide receiver hybrid. Rams going Jaron Bradley. Haven't studied him from all 22 yet, but Tech gets some good wide receivers in there, and the Rams could definitely use some infusion of some extra juice. Packers going Javion Cohen. This is the right range for Javion to go, and transferring to Miami doesn't probably boost his value from Alabama, so a little bit worried about that, but getting some extra interior offensive line help is never bad. Zach Zinter should not be taken in this range. He is a high power, high upside offensive lineman, better than a lot of guys who have gone before, but Bears get to continue feasting. He's better than Rhyme, who they got earlier. Mayan Williams, I'm an Ohio State fan. I don't think he's that great. There's a lot better running backs that are still available. So personally, I'm just going to hold back on, tearing them apart. I do think running back is a position the Steelers need to start looking at. I just don't really. I think it's our biggest weakness on offense. That's not right tackle at the moment. Philadelphia Eagles going Paris Shand out of LSU. If he is number 99, which I think he is, this guy's a freak. So I am not going to crap on this pick at all. This guy could be an absolute monster addition for the Eagles. Raiders going A.D. Mitchell, ridiculous value, but he's here probably because of injury concerns. Johnny Wilson, this is absolute bullshit. I'm just going to call it as it is. He is my number 6 player in the entire draft. I don't get it, but the Minnesota Vikings get the best player. He gets arguably the best, or they get arguably the best wide receiver in this class here at 144. So cheers to them, man. Cheers to them. 6'7", 240. Runs routes better than someone who was taken, I believe, in the first round, or like mid-second, and Xavier Worthy. Broncos going Javon Bullard. He's a slot corner, but definitely worth taking because he's a really good athlete. Corday Senior. Oh, yeah. Interesting that the Chargers continue to go edge route. I think Tuli Tuipulotu is going to be a super stud. I haven't been able to study Sidner yet, but very excited to because he's high up on my list to study. Christian Haynes. So mentioned him earlier. He is, I believe, a right guard, so I would hate for him to compete with Anthony Bradford, but if they get either Bradford or him to the left side, they have a young trio of dudes who'd be an absolute monster wrecking crew. I would love that to death. So this is actually a really good fit and a really good value. Then we got Keaton Oladapo out of Oregon State. Going to be 100% honest. I have not studied Keaton yet, but safety in Wink Martindale's system definitely is a very valuable position. So I could see the Giants continuing to invest in there. But I do know, why am I forgetting the guy's name, who had that crazy fumble strip? He didn't even peanut punch it. He just straight up like robbed him. Forgetting his name off the top of my head, but I really liked him. I think he was a Toledo safety. But I have Percy Butler stuck in my head. I know he's from Washington, but y'all know who I'm talking about. He, I think, is probably going to make this pick kind of useless, but never a bad idea to continue getting depth in DB in Wink Martindale's system. Cedric Gray is a really good option for the Saints at this point. I think he's around 250 pounds as well. Very top tier linebacker. Should not be taken it. He should be within the top 100. Then we got Braden Fiske. I have not studied him, so I'm not going to make any claims. I don't know enough about him to make any claims to begin with. Troy Fautanu, I know is extremely highly graded by Broshmo, which means absolutely nothing. I'm joking. We'll be grading him pretty soon. Interior offensive line is one of those ones that I want to wait a little bit more for because I find interior offensive line not nearly as fun as I wanted to. But Jeff Sims is a perfect fit for the Ravens. That is an A+ fit. That's like God tier level fit. I love it. Then we got the Ravens, the Lions going Blake Fisher. He's going to be a backup right tackle for him, but that's excellent depth. He has so much potential, and this is lower than I would put him. And I thought I was low on him, but really good player nonetheless. Curtis Jacobs, he's okay. Again, things can change when I go and study him in all 22, but from the Penn State tape that I've watched, and I've watched a shit ton of Penn State tape, this is not one of the guys who stood out. Jaheim Bell should not go this low, but the Kansas City Chiefs continue to rob the NFL. I have him as probably a top 40 player. I'll scroll back down. He's number 45. Like, this guy has something against Florida State players. Josh Newton's a very talented corner. He just is a little bit limited physically. Could be a really good fit in that Bills secondary, and never a bad idea to continue bringing on defensive backs. MJ Devonshire to the Bengals. I don't really know if the Bengals will eventually need as many corners because they're continuing to hit on some high-quality defensive backs, but I haven't studied Devonshire yet. We'll see how that goes. I like Pitt DBs. I don't think I love them that much, but I do like them enough. J. Michael Sturdivant to the Eagles. I think that Eagles do need a wide receiver 3. I don't think J. Michael Sturdivant is going to be that guy. I haven't studied him in all 22 yet, hence why I'm being a little bit more vague with my analysis, but he is not somebody who has stood out to me as somebody who I would want as my wide receiver 3. I'll just put it that way. We'll be nice. But again, we still have 2 guys right here, Tyler Barron and Jermaine Burton, who are not taken yet. And I don't remember if we've even seen Joe Milton yet. I think we might have. But regardless, looking at the other guys, I think Kalen Bullock was taken as well. But just overall, we still have top 32 guys who have yet to be taken. I'll still scroll down a little bit, and now you get to see me in the middle of editing this board and building a new one. Noah Whittington is a fun running back. I like him a lot. I'm surprised he still has eligibility, and I think he's an excellent depth back. So this is a great pick for the Panthers. Walter Rouse, new tackle at Oklahoma, doesn't have any real tape for me to study, if I'm not mistaken, so can't really make any claims, and I don't think anybody else can either. Anthony Belton, I love NC State offensive linemen, so continuing to get more NC State guys there with, who do they get? Chandler Zavala, bringing him back, one of his buddies. I think that's awesome, and having depth there with Ike Ekwonu, and I think they played together as well, or at least we're on the same roster, so you get just a ton of chemistry there with the O-line. I'm a big fan of that. Brown's going Javon Baker out of UCF. I haven't studied him myself, but I really like UCF players in general. I don't know if many of them are NFL quality, but just in terms of being quality on a lower end team in D1, I like it a lot. So, good team, good franchise. Well, okay, good school, but I don't know if it's really the best for the NFL because you got guys like Brew McCoy, who I'm going to end up having much higher than you see him right here. He's number 58 on my board at the moment. And, to be fair, there's a lot of dudes who are going up above, but also there's a lot of dudes who are falling. So probably going to still stick around that 64 range at 6'3", 220 pounds. I have a whole wide receiver video out on it, so you guys can go there for more depth. Mohamed Kamara, don't know enough about him, just going to be honest. But Eagles getting edge depth, never a bad idea with BG going away. Josh Sweat not going to be there for long, and Derek Barnett. Then we got Jacksonville Jaguars going Gabe Hall. Gabe Itch is one of the guys who I also know. And Gabe Hall, probably not somebody who I'm over the moon about. But again, this is really late on. Defensive tackles, you're getting good value. Next, we got Dwayne Carter. I'm not a huge fan of him. I think he has midget arms. He has really good statistics, but most of the time I see it due to an issue with actually the O-line or the quarterback running into a spot where he is rather than him actually generating the true pressure. And I've studied him 2 different times thinking that I would find something else, and I didn't. I actually ended up liking him less and less the more I studied him. Tampa Bay going Terrion Arnold. I'm excited to see him get more reps, and then I'll make my opinion based on that because I really love Alabama DBs, but last year was Kool-Aid and Eli for a lot of it. So excited to see Terrion take a step up. Tate Ratledge, intriguing player to say the least. Pretty sure he was that right guard there for him. We'll see what happens, but Commanders need some guard help. Not going to complain about them going after a Georgia product. Christian Mahogany would have been the better guy. but New England Patriots scoop him up, and I think that's such a Patriots move. And where is he? He's number 47. He's at the top of right below my face, right there. So, obviously you guys know how I feel about that. Then you got Roger Rosengarten out of Washington. I think that Bills continuing to invest in O-line is a good idea. I've yet to watch Rosengarten, though. Packers going Ty Hamilton. Ooh. So he's going to be the third in that rotation. Highly doubt he comes out because Ohio State DTs are going to be going relatively high because they're all probably 5-star athletes. And Ty's not going to want to be a pick 171. That's just the truth. He's going to want to be a starting rotational guy before he is just a backup rotational guy. So, but Packers getting more health on the defensive line with just more depth, never a bad idea. Same thing with the Bears, continuing to invest in the defensive line. I like West Virginia D tackles, not really for the NFL, but I do like them overall. Steelers do not need to go after another quarterback, especially Devin Leary. Really, we could just continue investing elsewhere. Devin Leary's not that good, but it is what it is. Billy Bowman, I don't know enough about him, I'm going to be honest, but safety isn't one of those positions I'm crazy about for the Vikings either. I think that they have some really good players in there in Bynum as well as seen for the long run. And I don't feel like this is the last year that we're going to see Harrison Smith. Then we got the Patriots going Cam Hart. Cam Hart's a good player. This is good value for him. I haven't obviously studied him in all 22, but I do know enough about Cam Hart, and I have seen him when watching other players. He's a good player. This is good value for him. And the Patriots are good at scooping up good DB value. So this is right on cue. Gavin Bartholomew, he's a fun player after the catch. I don't think that he's going to be a plus starter, but I think that as maybe a tight end 3, he's a really good guy to bring in there. And, there's just not much more I really need to say about it. He's a really quality tight end 3. Jalen Conyers. Ooh, this guy's a good athlete out of Arizona State. We'll see how he performs, but the Rams getting another freaky weapon, like they need it. They really need it. Trayshawn Ward out of K-State. I don't know enough about him because obviously I was, over the moon about Deuce, but we'll see what happens. But Chargers getting another running back. I don't really know if they need to go back-to-back running backs. There's going to be a lot of them in free agency. Seahawks going Dominique Hampton out of Washington. You guys know me. I love UWDBs, so getting one down the street there in Seattle, not a bad idea. And I just haven't seen enough of him in all 22 to give you guys a full opinion because I'm just going to be very optimistic and say I will continue liking him, especially for the value of the 180s. Keith Randolph is the partner in crime to Jerzon Newton. So, I'm naturally going to like him quite a bit, but I think there's a significant drop-off, hence also why he's being taken here at 180. I think this is very good value for the plays that he has made on the field. Then you got Jalen Travis, tackle out of Princeton. I've heard some very good things about him. The Saints could always use some extra offensive line depth, so going after a tackle here, especially one that, you have to have good academics to be in Princeton in the first place, even if you are an athlete. It just shows that they're probably going to be higher level IQ on the field. Frank Gore Jr., he's a fun player. I don't really think he's necessary. I think he's more of a stat patter than anything. I didn't really see very high NFL level play, but again, there's more time and more tape to be watched before I solidify my opinion. Bud Clark's a good safety, man. He's a really good safety. These TCU guys, they know how to get really quality DBs here. Jacksonville getting him at this point, good value. Jabari Small, I like Jabari Small, and the Browns are kind of more so in need of actual depth running backs, which is weird to say because they had, Dearness Johnson and Kareem Hunt being lost, not necessarily the easiest loss when you lose your 2 and 3 and then expect them to be as good as they were. Patrick Payton, don't know enough about him, I'm going to be completely honest, but investing in defensive line this late in the draft, probably a good idea. Jets going Cam Rising. I think that's excellent. I think it actually fits with their mantra as well. He has a weaker arm. That's his biggest issue. But overall, I think this is somebody who could definitely step in and win a couple games in case of injury. Will Howard, I think, should be probably a 3rd-round pick. Guy's a cannon arm. He just doesn't have enough experience, and he started showing it last year. But this dude has a ton of potential, and I think he could end up being one of those guys that has a chance of starting in the NFL. Obviously not for the Bills, but, maybe for another franchise. Now we got the Buffalo Bills back again going at Kansas guard. So I haven't obviously studied Logan Brown, but going guard for a team that continues to need to invest in the offensive line, not a bad idea. So not going to fault him for it. Ovi Ogofo. So with the billion edge rushers that LSU has, I obviously don't know too much about Ogofo, but very excited to be shown a player that might be better than Ali Gay based on this draft spot. Jamon Dumas Johnson, some people think is a first round quality player. So for the Saints to get another stud linebacker with Cedric Gray, maybe we got a New Orleans Saints fan here. And then we got the 49ers going Michael Pratt. He's torn up SMU, my school, plenty of times. But actually, I wanted to mention him earlier. Jalen Daniels is someone who I really like. So intriguing to see him go after Michael Pratt. But I think Jalen Daniels he started at 17 or 18 for Kansas. So really intriguing. I had him on a watch list a while ago. Zachary Franklin is an amazing addition for the Cardinals. Him paired up with Ibuka. I would love that to death. Zachari's top speed is kind of low, but he is like one of those weird technicians when it comes to release. Could end up being one of those huge steals where he ends up having play of the, not on the pure level of George Pickens, but like shadows, like a shade of George Pickens. He really does remind me a little bit of him. Xavier Truss is that left guard for Georgia. So he's really hot and cold. He'll be complete crap one play and then be an absolute monster the next. And the Texans having him as a backup guard, that's kind of exactly what you're hoping for and seeing if he could become a lot more consistent. Tyreek Chappell, we're going to see how he plays. Obviously, Texas A&M lost quite a few DBs last year. We're going to see how these new corners come in play. Jordan Strawn, or I think that's how you say it, out of South Carolina. He's a good player, but he, to me, when I watched him, didn't really stand out in any way, shape, or form. But again, there's going to be a lot more time and a lot more tape. And every single year, these guys are hopefully progressing. So maybe this guy will be eventually willing or able to fit to a roster, but highly doubt it. But Akeem Mesidor is a fun one. Obviously, when I was watching Leonard Taylor, he was out quite a bit. So I got to see guys like Akeem Mesidor play. And he's a weird tweener. He's 280 pounds, so I doubt that he's going to be a pure D tackle. I think he should end up dropping to 270 and just playing a pure edge role, but we'll see what happens there. He is definitely someone who, he has that technician upside, but he's in that awkward phase, and I don't feel like he's going to fit in the NFL until he chooses one or the other, and I'm hoping, like DeMarvin Lee, or unlike DeMarvin Leal, he chooses the lighter weight as an edge rusher, because if you're able to be 270 and use that extra power, and you're already comfortable at a higher weight, you're going to be naturally a lot better in terms of your movement skills at that weight. And then you got Kobe Bryant out of Kansas. I've heard a lot of really good things about him. Good depth pick for the Browns. Rashad Williams. I don't like Texas Tech corners usually. I haven't studied him, but we'll see. I love TJ Tampa. He actually made it on a lot of my my watch list videos, or like the up down videos, like who performed well that week. I forgot what the hell I called them, but TJ Tampa's a really, really good veteran corner. I think that he should be getting a lot more respect than he does, but it totally feels on brand for him to slip to this level. But he's going to be somebody who randomly will stick to a roster, and then people are like, damn, that was a good pick in the 6th. Then you got Quinion Mitchell here. I actually graded him out of Toledo. I didn't think he was special in any way, shape, or form. He's kind of more of that depth corner, and Raiders could definitely use it. Jeremiah Hunter, I haven't studied him, going to be completely honest, but the Broncos do kind of need a little bit of extra juice there in that receiving room. I'd prefer someone like Ja'Cory Brooks. But Packers continue feasting and grabbing really good depth receivers. Patriots go Alfred Collins out of Texas. There's a billion dudes in the Texas defensive front, so he's in really good company. Obviously, there's not enough reps for me to have a good opinion of him. Johnny Dixon, I love me some Penn State DBs, and pairing him back up with JPJ would be fun, but he obviously has not had enough exposure on the outside to be worth really investing in yet, but definitely at 205, I'd be open to the idea. I'm not even going to try on this, but DB for the Raiders is a good idea. DJ Uiagalelei, I think the Cowboys need a backup quarterback. I was watching him today, and it's like, ooh, that's, like, I love Will Grier and all, but I'd take a shot on DJU, who I don't really think has a love for the game when you watch him play. Don't really feel the energy there. He's probably going to be a UDFA, but I think the Cowboys picking him up would be a great idea. Jalen Ford, he's actually a good player. I saw him quite a few times when I was watching. Why am I tripping balls? Tavondre Sweat. but I'm 95% sure it's Jalen Ford. But, those linebackers there, they do have some really good quality, dude. This is good value for him. Tanner Bortolini, I haven't really studied him yet because I focused pretty much primarily on Jack Nelson on that line, but didn't really see him pop off. Didn't really see many Wisconsin linemen pop off, but we'll see what happens there. Will Putnam, Clemson's offensive line was not necessarily the best, but at 210, never going to fault a team for investing in O-line. Same thing with Zach Frazier. But Kamari Lassiter being here is absolute butt cheeks. Where do I have him? Where is he? He's number 37 on my board. Hallelujah. I'll continue scrolling down so we get some more guys listed here. There's Zachary Franklin at the bottom. Probably not for you guys. Oh, there's Tyler Davis that I already brought down. You guys get to see my board. It's a mess at the moment. But Kamari, that's ridiculous. But going to Wink Martindale, I love it. Then you got Bo Braid, another safety out of Maryland. The better one is Dante Trader. Jalen Catalon. Injuries have probably pushed him down this far. Really good value for the Dolphins. Austin Reed, another Western Kentucky quarterback. I don't know enough about him, but I will let you know after I end up watching Corley. Javonte Jean-Baptiste. He actually has popped off to me here and there, but I don't think he's NFL quality, but the Ravens end up taking him. Good for them. Brendan Rice. I think it's Jerry Rice's kid. That's obviously going to be really good value. Ventrell Cypress. I have him as like an early day 3 guy, and I thought I was low. So that's excellent value. He's just as limited athletically. Cowboys going after a different Ole Miss tight end because I was hoping that they would go after Michael Trigg. I don't know enough about Priscorn. Then you got Jalen Carleys out of Missouri. I like some Missouri DBs. I don't know if it was Carleys that I saw, but there was a dude who delivered a huge hit, and I have him written down as a dude who I'd love to look at because Missouri has some good defensive backs. Julian Fleming is excellent value at this point. I might have him worth an early day 3 pick. DeCorian Clark at a UTSA. I don't know enough about him, and Zachary Franklin was obviously the best player in the field when I was watching, so a little bit concerned. Then we got Eric Gentry, 200-pound linebacker. Really, not a huge fan going to the Niners, but he's probably going to play that Oren Burks role. Then we end it off with Reggie Grimes out of OU. Man, I'm just going to end it off by saying no, I don't know anything about Reggie Grimes, but there's plenty of guys who I was shocked were not taken on this. The highest player, obviously, that was not taken was in my top 32 with Tyler Barron, and then also in my top 32 with Jermaine Burton. But, we all have differing opinions, and there's a lot. I mean, for a 7-round mock draft, I don't know how the hell this guy did it, but, power to you, brother. Power to you. I couldn't do it yet. But we're going to, and we'll cross that road when we cross that road. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the far side.